Good morning. Um, it's been over a week since I've posted. Last week felt like a blur, and whenever I wanted to post, it was just like I knew what I wanted to say, but I didn't know what I wanted to say, and um, I had a suggestion on what I should say, and just something I had said, and I really went, "That sounds good," and it felt like the longest, most stressful, shortest week, and like I blinked, and it was Monday again. Um, at this stage, it's 6:45 in the morning. Um, and the reason I'm doing this post so early is I had this very realistic dream. And before I get into the dream, um, we all have that one big regret in our life, that one moment that is etched um, in stone in our mind, that we'll never be able to change, we'll never be able to figure out or understand. Um, and for me, that's always been this just one moment. Um, and I'll explain the moment, and then I'll explain the dream that I had, which is causing such anxiety for me right now. I cannot actually explain to you. Um, so I had mentioned earlier that I had been trying to find my father when I was very young. I was 12. Sorry, I'm drinking coffee. It's very early. And I, you know, my one sister had gotten hold of me, and I'd asked, is Dad going? And she said yes. I said, please, can I have his contact details? And I phoned. And I don't know if I've actually shared this on the channel, but let's share it again. I dialed the number, and again at 12, you're still very young, and obviously I'd been tenacious enough to try and find my father through all the crap I'd been going through at home. And as he answered the phone, obviously it was hi. I said, hi. He goes, who is this? I said, it's your long lost daughter. And he goes, I'm sorry, I don't know who you're talking about. And I said, it's Karina. And then he went, oh my gosh, and the whole, I didn't think I'd ever find you. And now, obviously, and then all that happened, you know, it just went into uh, a sandstorm. There's many other words I want to use for that one, but let's try and keep it clean. So early on a Tuesday morning, and you know, I had to turn around and say goodbye to my dad, and I'd never really spoken. Well, no, not really. I've never spoken to him since he had passed, and this one pivotal moment, I think, had affected me so much, and it was probably this recurring theme of you introduce yourself to someone as you are, and they're like, I don't know you. And you can look back on this and go, okay, so if I had to say to my childhood friend, it's your long lost friend, and they question you, you'd be different to what you were when they'd initially known you. And obviously, this is all the change that you go through. So, who we are right now is not the person that they would recognize. So, that's one way to look at it. So, my dream was oddly, I was at I want to call it camp, and a family member said to me they'd found my father and he wants to meet me. Now, the person with me was a friend slash sister type of person, um, and she had known her father. So in my head, I know who this person represents, and she met my father first. and you know, I'm on a beach, this massive beach with, wild the sea life coming and on the beach, and then they're flowing straight out again, and you're seeing whales and dolphins, and standing there, and you've got this emotion of this big emotion of um anxiety, but it's more of like this uplifting, where you're like, okay, this is a moment. This is a big moment. And in your head, you're trying to process and what you're going to say and how you're going to feel. And I walk into this restaurant that's sitting on, and he's sitting there, and my friend's sitting there, and another family member is sitting there, and he's talking, and he just looks like a normal guy, and I relate him to those Miami gangsters, with the little hat, or I think I watched too many gangster movies. Um, and he's talking about how nervous he is, and obviously I'm standing behind him, and I touch him on the shoulder, and I walk so that he can see me, and I bend down, and it takes a second for him to recognize me, and I sit down, and he starts speaking to me about how sorry he is, and all the things that you really want to hear. And I get up, and I walk on the beach, and I go, can I forgive? Come back, and I say, "Jack, I don't know if I can, I just like, I, it felt like you abandoned me. I wasn't, you weren't there." In any case, so my friend's sister, she has formed this relationship already, and weirdly enough, they go partying, and but in any case, and then there was a lion, and I was on this beach slash restaurant area, and I lifted, I want to say box, it's a cage, but in my dream it was a box, and this lion was trying to get out and come to me and obviously attack me. And how I'm trying to push it back in, and other people are trying to help me. Um, and then you sort of wake up, and like the anxiety levels, like I can't even explain. It's like my head hurts, my chest, and I can't breathe. The fact that I'm speaking right now is just trying to just get this emotion out, which is why I decided to do it so very early this morning. So, initially you look at this dream and you go, okay, an unresolved feeling about your father, it's obviously haunting you. Um, if you had met him, what would you have said? The sea life being alive, coming on shore, sort of flipping, and might not be able to survive, and then the waves taking them in. So, there's many ways you can look at the stream, and so even as I'm talking to you now, I'm looking at the different aspects, and I'm going, for the meeting my dad and that uneasiness I feel, it's possibly guilt on my side, having been so young and having been influenced by maternal factors to say goodbye to him, and not talk to him again. Um, the forgiveness part, both for him never tried to find me, but there is the reason, and I consciously know it. Sometimes I think unconsciously as a child, you never fully understand, and I probably never will understand, but consciously I know why. But then you look at it and you go, when I'm sitting there and I'm going, I don't know if I can forgive you. As I'm speaking to you, I'm going, this is like me looking at myself, as and the person I'm looking at is my father. But what I'm really looking at is that unforgivable thing that I'm not forgiving myself for. And so, as much as the dream affected me because it was my dad, it was the fact that I have never forgiven myself for what I had done, for the reaction I had, for that feeling of he actually didn't know who I was. Um, he didn't love me enough. He didn't fight hard for me. Um, and it wasn't his truth, it was my perception. And all those negative feelings have stayed within me. And, you know, I'm close to that's my paternal side of the family, and yeah, everything is fine. But I hadn't forgiven myself for my feelings and my thoughts and my perceptions of the the whole event. And when I say that, it's like if you make a mistake, you hold yourself to that, and you something goes wrong, and you blame yourself, and you just never forgive yourself for that having gone wrong. If you've done something and just things just went really bad, um, and if you can't forgive yourself for that thing, it starts haunting you. And exactly what this dream is doing is it haunts me. It's not the first time I've had this dream. This the dream this morning or last night, or whenever I had it, in the last 8.5 hours, it was haunting. It was sad. It was emotional. Um, and I look at it and I go, imagine if I, I mean, this was the biggest regret I've ever had. Probably. Um, okay, there's another one, but when I say regret, I say something that I can never forgive myself for. Um, and I think only through looking at what we need to forgive ourselves for can we actually not banish the ghost, but I had said in the previous weeks, negating the or changing the narrative, allowing that feeling to sit with you. And I think when you're struggling with mental health and breakdowns and just everything is just so much all the time, and you literally just trying to breathe, and get through each second and each moment, that we forget to just go, it's okay. I may have made the mistake. It's okay. And I look at my work life and I made a mistake, and oh my gosh, it was the end of the world. And maybe that stems from that exact moment when he said to me, I don't know who you are. And the phone call I made afterwards that said, I can't be in contact with you. That mistake in my life has now impacted anything I do. So if I make a mistake, for me, it's like it's the end of the world. It's like I am an absolute failure. I'm worthless. I'm stupid. I'm things like that. So I was just, as I'm speaking about this, which is sort of how I start processing, and luckily no one's looking back at me while I'm doing this processing. Um, I think the things we regret the most, and the things that we blame ourselves the most for as our mistakes, or something that we could have prevented or should have prevented in our minds, it starts replaying in various other areas. So I mucked up there, and every time I muck up, it's like I'm being taken to that feeling. And it's just, you're looping, and you're going back to those feelings. And I'm not saying that's going to fix mental health, but, there's there's always steps. And with the borderline, there is a chemical imbalance, but it's a lot. Well, it's there's a large part of it that's trauma based. Abuse, neglect, those type of things, past experiences, um, and you need to talk about this stuff. So yes, you need the chemicals, but you also need to be able to talk about it. And if we don't talk about it, we don't process. We can think and it goes through our brain, and it's like festering. It's the old adage, one rotten apple, spoils the rest. That one rotten thought will affect everything. And I think what I really just want to say is, if you have that one mistake, that one regret, speak to a parent, speak to a friend, speak to a sibling, seek help, professional help. Try and forgive yourself for that one moment. Because maybe forgiving yourself for that one moment might make the moments that you feel equates to that moment not as pressurized, not as painful, not as failure crippling. And I say this to you, and I'm working on this. Right? I'm seeing my therapist today. But, they always say forgive yourself. And it's not the easiest thing. We all believe we've forgiven ourselves for many things. But in the back of our mind, have we truly? So I think what I'm going to leave you with is, everyone makes mistakes. Everyone does learn from them, but it's how we forgive ourselves for it. And if we just let that festering anger stay, anything that is remotely similar to that will just carry on hurting. Like, I made a mistake then, and any mistake I make now, it's the end of the world. It's, how could I be that stupid? How could I be that dumb? And then the negative talk comes. So from something you did as a child or something like that to an adult, now you start blaming that you're just pathetic. And that's not true. And it's not that you haven't learned from it. It's just that feeling that you had at that precise moment becomes a feeling that you're constantly sitting with. And in changing the narrative, I said sit with that emotion. What we do is we go, okay, I've made the mistake. I now just have to move on because, that's what everyone says. It's okay, you've made the mistake. Just carry on. Move forward. Dory, just keep swimming. The problem is, if we don't look back and heal that little Aina, anything that relates or anything that makes us feel the way that Aina made us feel is going to carry on the cycle. So take a deep breath today. I'm not saying it's going to be fixed in a day, a month. It might take very long. But whenever you think of that Aina, just start forgiving yourself for that. Forgive the people that may have caused that. Alive, past. Slowly but surely, I assume, I'm hoping, 'cause it's something I have to do, that Aina and that worthlessness and that um, guilt that you feel might eventually start going away. So, before I start crying, have an amazing day, and let's just call this forgive yourself. And speak to someone, friend, dog. I would speak to my dogs, but they'd probably fall asleep on me. Your partner. So have an amazing week. I will chat to you next week. My life returns to normal next week. In the sense that my other part of my heart is back. So have a lovely one. Cheers. Bye.